Dear colleagues, dear Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to present our work entitled Rematerialized Medical Data, Paper-Based Transmission of Structured Medical Data using QR codes for medical imaging reports. I have no disclosure. My presentation will follow the usual plan: context, method, result, and discussion. Our work is part of a larger project focusing on the possible ways to improve medical imaging reports, especially completeness, interoperability, and patient explanation. The main idea came while discussing with our patient during medical consultation, realizing that medical imaging pictures and text reports didn't always seem clear for our patients and did not help their understanding. The project was to think of a workflow to improve medical imaging reports by producing and using structured data. Expert radiologists would fill in a predefined form to generate a standardized text report and the graphical display as an informational support for the patients. But since we had to produce structured data for this purpose, we wanted to find a way to keep this structured data and to be able to transmit it to different health professionals for secondary use. So we thought of using QR codes to embed raw data in it rather than embedding URL as a traditional use of QR codes. On one hand, we have the usual paper-based transmission, where the physical report is transmitted in person to the patient, who in turn can pass it on to his doctors. And on the other hand, we have the dematerialized transmission, where structured data is transmitted from one computer to another, possibly through a centralized database. In this paper, we explore the possibility of a rematerialized transmission, where structured data could be encoded in a QR code to be printed within the report, then transmitted in person to involved doctor and their electronic health records. Even though QR codes are widely used in our societies, mostly for marketing and informational purpose, it's still rare in healthcare. Most of its use represent embedding an URL and to facilitate the access to online informational websites. Recently, new usage were developed with the health pass during the COVID pandemics. We tested the feasibility of structured data transmission using QR codes with the following workflow in mind. Data file would be embedded in a QR code, printed on medical reports, and the report could be scanned either by a smartphone, a computer webcam, or even a dedicated scanner for high volume scanning to regenerate the data file. Data were extracted from previous work as part of the EC-Premier project. For several imaging exams, we had described the list of mandatory fields to be included in the report, and these fields were structured as datasets. We used data from three different exams. We tested different serialization formats and compared the file length using the Unix built-in word count utility. We used the Unix libqr encode for QR encoding, and we selected 4 compression format standard to lower the file size and compare them on processing time and compression ratio. Detection and decoding was performed digitally, file to file, using ZBAR library, and physically printed using different model of smartphone, both Android and iOS. As for the result, the YAML format required less character for each dataset, approximately 1.5 to 2.5 times less. As for QR encoding, the maximal number of characters was around 4,200, but this limit is only valid for alphanumeric character, which was not suitable for serialization format. Instead, we had to use binary format with the maximal number of 2,900 characters. QR codes were generated using a simple command line. Compression was fast and efficient. The best time and compression ratio was obtained using gzip. And file-to-file detection and decoding using command line was successful, both with raw and compressed file. Physical detection and decoding using smartphone on printed QR codes was only successful with raw file, either with iOS native camera or with free app for Android. QR code was detected down to a 3:3 printed size. And as part of this work, we interrogated legal experts from our university on this possible type of transmission. Currently, it appears there is no harmonized framework on transmission of medical information in Europe, but only directives. As far as we know, printed QR code is not considered as electronic transmission. So we successfully used QR code to embed medical structured data, and the YAML format was character sparing. Standard compression algorithm allowed shorter file and smaller QR codes. And as this concept seemed compatible with legal aspects of medical information transmission. Usually, QR code contain URL to access further information, and we propose here to fill it with structured data to avoid online access and centralized database with no large-scale vulnerability and no need for large-scale infrastructure. This work is still in the proof of concept phase, but it uses informatics standard and open source library. We hope this work might participate in improving medical information transmission. Thank you for your attention.